In January 1982, a man set sail alone across the Atlantic Ocean. His name was Steven Callahan, an experienced sailor and boat designer from Massachusetts. He had built his own boat, a 21-foot sloop he named Napoleon Solo. His dream was to cross the Atlantic alone and prove his design could handle anything. For the first 6 days, the voyage went exactly as planned. Steven slept in short bursts, always listening for changes in the wind or waves. But on the 7th night, everything changed in an instant. Around 2 in the morning, something massive struck the hull. Steven was thrown from his bunk as water began flooding inside. He had only minutes before the boat would sink completely into the Atlantic. In the darkness, he grabbed what he could: a sleeping bag, a knife, a spear gun. He deployed his emergency life raft, a small orange inflatable, barely 5 feet long. Steven climbed inside just as Napoleon Solo disappeared beneath the waves. In seconds, everything he had built was gone forever. Now he was alone in a 5-foot raft, 800 miles from the nearest land. When dawn finally came, Steven took stock of what he had. His food would last maybe 3 days, his water even less. The Atlantic stretched around him in every direction with no end in sight. His only hope was to drift west toward the shipping lanes near the Caribbean. That journey would be 1,800 miles, drifting at about 1 mile per hour. Steven knew he would need to survive for weeks, possibly months. To live that long, he would need to catch fish with his bare hands and homemade tools. He would need to collect every drop of rain that fell from the sky. And most importantly, he would need to never give up hope. Each day became an identical cycle of survival rituals. Wake before dawn, check for leaks, watch for fish, wait for rain. Ration every bite of food, every sip of water, every ounce of energy. The sun became his enemy, burning his skin raw every single day. By day 10, his body was covered in saltwater sores and blisters, but still he hunted, spearing triggerfish and dorado that swam beneath his raft. He ate the fish raw, drinking their blood and fluid to stay hydrated. Each successful catch meant another day of life. Then on day 14, the sharks found him. Drawn by the blood and scraps from his fishing, they circled constantly. At nights, he could hear them bumping against the thin rubber floor beneath him. One wrong move and those jaws would tear through his only protection. Steven learned to move silently, never splashing, never attracting attention. But the sharks were patient. They had nowhere else to be. On day 23, a massive storm appeared on the horizon. Steven faced an impossible choice. The storm could kill him or save him. The rain would mean drinking water, but the waves could destroy his raft. The storm hit with terrifying force, waves crashing over the tiny raft. Steven held on with everything he had as the ocean tried to swallow him whole. For 6 hours, he fought to stay alive inside that orange cocoon. When dawn came, the storm had passed, and he was still alive. Better yet, his containers were full of fresh rainwater. But the greatest enemy at sea was not the sun or sharks or storms. It was the emptiness, the endless, unchanging blue that never ended. Day 30, day 40, day 50, each day identical to the last. Steven began talking to himself just to hear a human voice. He named the fish he caught, the birds that landed on his raft, the stars above. His mind created company where none existed to survive the solitude. On day 65, disaster struck again. The sharks punctured his raft. The raft began to deflate slowly. sinking lower into the water hour by hour. Steven patched the holes with improvised plugs, inflating by mouth to stay afloat. Every few hours he had to reinflate, never able to truly rest again. His body was failing, skeletal, covered in sores, barely able to move. But something in him refused to let go. Some spark refused to die. On the morning of day 76, Steven saw something on the horizon, a shape that didn't belong to the ocean, something man-made, something real. For the first time in 76 days, he was not alone in the world. Steven used his last strength to wave and signal, terrified they might pass by. The fishermen spotted him, the orange raft a spark of color against the endless blue. The boat changed course and headed directly toward him. Fishermen from Marie Galante Island pulled alongside his shattered raft. Strong hands reached down and lifted Steven Callahan out of his orange prison. He had drifted 1,800 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, 76 days, alone, one man against the entire Atlantic Ocean. Steven had lost a third of his body weight and could barely walk. But he was alive, and he had proven what the human spirit can endure. He later wrote a book called Adrift that became a survival Bible. His techniques saved countless lives and influenced generations of survival training. 76 days taught him that survival is not about luck, it's about choice. Every single day, he chose to patch the raft, catch the fish, take the next breath. He chose life. Every single moment for 76 days, he chose to live. And that choice, repeated infinitely, is what separates survivors from victims.